How do you defeat the Hydra of your small business? Maybe you've heard this called different things. You've heard it called chaos. You've heard it called busyness. You've heard it called the whirlwind, the storm, putting out fires. How is it that you actually can defeat that? Hey, I've got two stories I'm going to tell you from this past week of professionals and teams that I coach that are dealing with the struggle of chaos, the whirlwind, or what I call the Hydra. My name is Josh Freeberg. I'm a business coach and a facilitator for those small business owners who have really fun businesses and fun lives. They love to get out and have adventures, and they love having great businesses where they get to work with clients that they love. Hey, if that's you and you're interested in how we could work together, reach out to me. I'd love to talk to you. But more importantly today, I want to talk to you about this menace that is so common for the small business owner, for the entrepreneur, whether it's for you or for the team members that you have. It all starts with this idea of chaos. There's so much to do. Every day I walk in and I've got 400 emails. I've got 38 tasks in my to-do list. I've got client voicemails, customers walking in the front door. There's so much to do. And how in the heck do I get it all done? Well, let me tell you what happened this last week. But before I do that, I want to tell you a story that's going to frame how we think about this. And the story is actually an ancient story. It's the story of Hercules and the Hydra, right? So Hercules has all these tasks he has to complete for the king, and one of them is he has to go and kill this Hydra. So Hydra is this beast that has multiple serpents' heads. It's sometimes it's described as having 8 or 9 heads, and you've maybe heard this story before, right? Hercules grabs one of the heads and he cuts it off with his sword, and the head grows back. And in even worse versions of the story, every head he cuts off grows back too. Is this feeling like your business a little bit? Every problem I solve, every to-do item I check off my checklist, it seems like it gets replaced with another one. Every customer that I take care of their challenge, there's 2 more waiting in line to replace them. What Hercules eventually understands is that he has to cut off the heads, and his nephew has to come behind and cauterize the wounds so that they won't grow back. And more importantly for our story, there is one immortal head. There is one immortal head that when he severs that, the Hydra is killed, right? So what is the immortal head in your business? What is that one task? As you look at your to-do list, what is that one task that matters more than all the others? It's a big thing that we talk about around here, is what matters most, right? What's most important? And here's the thing. I want you to imagine this Hydra with the one immortal head, but that immortal head, that thing that matters most in your business, is hiding behind all the others. The other ones are snapping and growling and hissing and spitting out poison, but that immortal head is hiding. It's difficult to find, and sometimes it's silent. This is what our business is like. For a sales organization, if sales is part of what you do, guess what? The immortal head of your business is getting more sales, setting appointments, going on sales appointments, right? This is so critical. But then you say, Josh, I come in and I've got all these to-do lists and I have unhappy customers and we've got to fulfill the sales that we made, or we have to service the work that we already have. And all you're doing is hacking away at Hydra heads that just keep growing back double. So I'm talking to 2 of my teams last week. And they start describing this scenario. I walk into the office. I have 400 things in my CRM that I have to do. I've got all these emails. I got people walking in. The phones won't stop ringing. It's chaos, Josh. The Hydra is in full attack mode. Hiss. Can you hear it? Can you hear it? See him clomping? Can you see him spitting out poison? And so what do? They pick up their sword and they start slashing away. And I said, please do this for me. This week, I want you to just set aside 1 hour. 1 hour where you're going to shut off your phone. You're not going to receive any inbound calls. Where you're going to close down your email. You're not going to look at any incoming email or any emails that need to be done. Second, and you're going to shut off your CRM, unless you need Intuit to make your outbound calls. And for 1 hour, I want you to have focused time doing your proactive work. We're going to go straight at the immortal head of the Hydra. Let me share with you a little bit about what I heard from them this last week when we checked in. So here it is, in the middle of our day, in the middle of all of our businesses. Here is the Hydra, right? Now, there's that one thing that matters most, and I said, hey, why don't you spend 1 hour just working on that thing? One of the teams that I coached, be honest, they didn't do it. They said, no, Josh, I have to deal with what's urgent. The phones were ringing. People were walking in the door. I have to deal with what's loud. I have to deal with what is immediate. By the way, this is a really common instinct. For people who are conscientious, for people who really care about taking good care of people, this is the danger, because there's always going to be new people that need your help. And oh, by the way, many of them, it's only going to take a minute or two to solve their problem, right? Except those minutes, they add up. They add up. And before you know it, I've got, 5 things going on, right? I've got 12 windows open on my computer. Sound familiar? And then here's what happens. What matters most? It never gets done. Well, what does that lead to? Right? I'll tell you what it leads to, because they told me exactly what it leads to. I said, how do you feel knowing that outbound work you were supposed to do, that intentional, proactive work you were supposed to be doing didn't get done? You know what they said? They said, I felt guilty. They said I felt guilty, right? Because I know it needs to be done. It's the thing that always needs to get done. It seems like week in and week out, this is what needs to get done, and I just didn't get it done. It spirals down. And they say this. Now, this is important. I want you to hear this, because this is a lie. This is a lie that we tell ourselves. They said, I'm going to do it later when I'm not busy. Later when I'm not busy. Guess what? There's no such thing as later when I'm not busy. You know that. Come on. It's true, right? Have you ever been talking to somebody and you're like, hey, how's life? And they go, oh, it's good. It's busy right now, though. I mean, what are we in here? End of March, first part of April. Oh, I mean, springtime's kind of busy, but it'll slow down once kids are out of school and it's summertime. And then you run into that person in the summertime. Guess what? Oh, it's so busy, but maybe it'll be less busy once the kids are back in school. Okay, sure. Oh, maybe it'll be busy. It'll be less busy around the holidays. Oh, it'll be less busy once the winter's over, right? And we're always going to be more busy. You know what? Maybe I'll do it tomorrow. I'm sure I won't have as much going on tomorrow. And it's a lie. It's absolutely a lie. Here's what they described happened next. It was really fascinating as I was talking to them about this. They said they just continue to chase the storm, right? Is how they described it. This was the language they were used. Every day I have to chase the storm. The storm never gets quiet, right? And that's not a way to beat the storm. I asked, how do you feel while all this is happening? How do you feel while all this is happening? And they said, I feel distracted, right? I feel anxious. I feel frustrated. And then what happens? They come into work the next day and do it again. They just hack away at all those heads of the Hydra, and they get every head they hack off gets replaced by another. Another one of my teams that I coach, it's really fascinating. They took the opposite approach. They actually set aside the time to do 1 hour of what we call, you saw this before, what matters most. Right? Just 1 hour in the entire week. 1 hour in the entire week. Here's what's so fun. I asked them, so what happened? They said, oh my goodness, Josh, it was so productive. It was so productive. I got more done in 1 hour than I've gotten done in the last 2 weeks. Now, listen, these are busy people. These are conscientious people. These are people who do a lot. They're very productive already. And yet they never seem to get done that one thing that was on their to-do list. They never seem to get done that one thing that matters most. I'll do that later when it's less busy. I'll do that when it's less busy. It's never less busy. What they did is they set aside that hour and they did it. Now, here's what you and I know. You got a full day. I understand. You're working 8, 10, 12, 14 hours. I don't know how much you're working each day. It's a lot. I also know that if we took 1 hour from you, right? You had to take your kid to the doctor. You had to take the dog to the vet. You had an appointment with a client or a customer. You would still get all the work done, even with 1 hour less. Instead of 8 or 10 or 12 hours, you would still get all the work done in 7 or 9 or 11 hours. It's just like it's this law of nature, right? It's actually a guy named Parkinson's, no connection to Parkinson's disease, but a guy named Parkinson described this, what's called Parkinson's law, which is that work grows to fill the time allowed. And guess what? Work will shrink to fit the time that's left over. And so what these people described is they said, Josh, we were so much more productive. You know what one of them said? They said, I finally got to do my job. My favorite archery instructor is a guy named Joel Turner, and what Joel says, when you step to the line, you draw your arrow, you've begun your aiming process, now you go to do your shot execution. He says, do your job and everything else is none of your business. So when you choose to go after the immortal head of the Hydra, when you choose to do what matters most, guess what? Those other heads of the Hydra are going to be snapping and hissing and spitting venom at you. And you need to be able to lock yourself in a room and say, you know what? Those other heads, none of my business. Because for this hour, my job is to call this list and set appointments. My job is to finish this project that's going to allow us to launch our next product. My job is to, whatever that job is that you've determined is what matters most, that's what you need to focus on. And everything else is none of your business, right? This is what's so exciting when you get serious and get focused about this. Now, let me tell you what happened after that. This is fascinating because I said, okay, so now you got 7 other hours in your day. What did those hours look and feel like? And they said, guess what? I was better able to prioritize and triage all the rest of my activities. Now that I knew that doing what matters most was so powerful for that hour, when I looked at the other 400 tasks I had to do, instead of just checking them off, the ones that are easy, the ones that are fast, the ones that I could get done real quick, I was like, well, which matters most next? Which matters most next? And I said, how did you do on all those tasks? They said, Josh, I still got it done. And here's something really fun and interesting. This team is set up really, really well in terms of their compensation structure because their leader has tied their compensation to what matters most, right? Has tied incentives and bonuses to getting this done. I talked to one person, get this, 1 hour, they made almost $500 in bonuses, right, on their team. I talk to people all the time. It's not unusual for them to say, I made $1,000, I made $5,000, I made $10,000 by focusing 1 hour on what matters most. When you think about your business, right, you can choose to just keep chasing the storm, just keep hacking the heads off of Hydras, or you can walk in, you can look at all the tasks and say, which one of these matters most? What is that immortal head of the Hydra that I need to cut off today? And when you do that, now you can go along and cut off the rest of the heads of the Hydra. In the future, we'll talk a little bit about a strategy for dealing with those, all those reactive things you have to deal with. But most importantly, what I want you to think about this week, as you look at that head of the Hydra, as you look at those heads of the Hydra, which one is that immortal head, the one that matters most? And how can you set aside time to go after that one and ignore the rest? Listen, here's the last thing I want to say on this. It's super hard. It's super hard. People talk about this like, oh, just do the thing that's most important, right? And ignore the urgent. No, that's difficult. By the way, you probably got to where you are because you're really good at helping people and you're really good at all that customer service stuff and answering the phones and taking good care of people. Please keep doing that. Please keep doing that. The other hours of the day, right? Set aside, start with 1 hour a week. Let's build it to 2. Maybe you can get to the advanced class where 1 hour a day you are doing what matters most in your business. This is the way to beat back whatever you call it, the storm, the fires you have to put out, or in case of our hero, the deadly Hydra. I'd encourage you this week, head on out, figure out which head matters most, hack off that head first. And if I can be of help to you, reach out to me. Give me a call, give me a text, shoot me an email. I would love to talk with you more about how I can help you in your business to figure out which Hydra matters most and deal with that one first.